I'm Christy Duffy for Smart Trend News. Yesterday, Steve Jobs took the stage for a keynote on the latest developments from Apple at the Worldwide Developers Conference in San Francisco, California. With me this morning to go over yesterday's event and announcements is Mitch Wagner of Computer World. Mitch is a technology journalist, blogger, podcaster, Apple enthusiast, and internet marketing consultant. Mitch is speaking to me now live this morning from San Diego, California. Mitch, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm good. Good to talk to you again, Christy.
What anticipated announcements were you waiting to hear yesterday during the event?
Well, the big one was the one we got, which is the new iPhone. It is the fourth generation of the iPhone. It's called the iPhone 4. I bet they spent a lot of time focus grouping that product name. It's got a new high-resolution display, which they're calling Retina. That's 4 times denser and more rich than the previous display, so everything looks smoother and sharper. It's got video chat, better camera, got a faster processor, better battery life, a new stainless steel case that, according to Apple, is made of aluminosilicate glass, chemically strengthened to be 30 times harder than plastic. I just like saying that. It sounds like something out of Star Trek.
Is there anything special about that material?
Well, it's just tough. It takes a beating and doesn't show scratches as much.
Does that mean when I drop the phone, it won't break? Because I've done that a few times.
Why don't you try that and let me know?
Okay.
I'm sure if you drop it, it'll break. I've dropped my 3G a couple times because I've got 10 thumbs on these hands.
Well, they did say it's still glass. It's glass on the front and the back, right?
Yeah, but tougher than regular glass.
All right. Well, it's going to be in stores June 24th, and I think they said you could pre-order starting the 15th, which I'm planning on doing that. Are you going to order this phone? Do you think it's a good buy?
Yeah, I think it's a good buy. I've got the 2-year-old 3G, so I'm looking forward to upgrading. In particular, I think what interests me personally the most is the better camera.
Oh, yeah. And the portable editing software. I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
How do you think this phone stacks against other smartphones on the market right now?
I think it's top of the line. Going head to head, it's hard to tell until people have had a good long time to get hands-on with it, because it's never the features, it's always the implementation. But I think it's gonna give the other guys a run for their money, just as the iPhone did.
Do you think they'll beat out Research in Motion? Jobs did point out that they're still #1 in the smartphone market.
People love their BlackBerries. I don't think people who love their BlackBerries are gonna give it up. In particular, iPhone's two biggest problems with the BlackBerry users are the AT&T coverage, which many people complain about, getting bad coverage wherever they are, and also the keyboard, the thumb keyboard. People who have the hardware keyboard like it a lot and hate the Apple's soft keyboard that's on the screen.
Well, Jobs didn't mention anything about it going to Verizon yesterday, which some people I think were hoping to hear. I think somebody in the audience actually shouted something out. Do you think that's possible in the next year?
I think it's probable in the next year. It's been predicted that it would happen just as since the iPhone was originally introduced. It seems to be one of these perennial predictions that never seems to quite come true. I think it's inevitable that it will come to other carriers sometime.
I hope so. What about the new AT&T data plan change? The $15 per month for 200 megabytes, I believe, and $25 for 2 gigabytes. And I believe AT&T said in a statement that 98% of its customers fall in the lower mark. Do you think that will significantly lower bills for smartphone users or data users? And do you think it'll attract some new customers for AT&T?
It's a good question. I think it'll lower bills a little bit, like $5 a month. And hey, $5 is $5. It'll almost like a cup of coffee these days.
5 times 12 is pretty good if you think about it for the whole year, I guess.
Yeah. I don't think people are, when they're evaluating smartphones, I don't think they're looking at that level of granularity on pricing, though. I think that AT&T my guess is that AT&T primarily did it as a, just to shave a little bit of cost off, just for the heck of it, but primarily did it, I think, to throttle usage a little bit. They're they're going to have tethering on the iPhone, so you're going to be able to use your iPhone as a wireless connection to your laptop, and probably for the iPad eventually, although not currently. And once that happens, I think they're a little concerned that bandwidth demand will just go through the roof and people will be sitting watching videos on their laptops all day.
All right. Well, what about the recent controversy? I know Jobs recently made a comment to this about Apple's tight control over its App Store. Do you think Apple is too controlling over the store? Do you agree with that?
I don't think it's a case. I think their biggest problem is not so much the level of control. I mean, every time I write about it and complain about the level of control, I get a lot of pushback from readers who like the perceived guarantee of stability. I think their biggest problem from a business perspective is the lack of predictability of what they're doing. You constantly have people submitting what seem to be perfectly reasonable apps and having those apps rejected for what appear to be arbitrary reasons. I think that keeps people from devoting huge amounts of resources to developing apps. They have to kind of keep the amount of money they're spending developing apps to the point that they can afford to lose it if Apple rejects it. I don't see that changing for Apple soon, simply because the App Store has been so successful.
All right. Well, did you see any downsides in any of the announcements yesterday, either with the phone or anything else Jobs mentioned?
Well, the one thing that did stand out, and it's not really a downside, it just is what it is, which is that when they talked about the video chat, it still only runs on Wi-Fi. And you have to be another iPhone user to have it.
So it only runs when you're in a Wi-Fi area?
Yeah,
okay.
And you'll only be able to talk with other iPhone 4 users using the video chat. I think that's a classic case of Apple kind of likes to put training wheels on its new features to make sure that they're stable,
right?
And new technologies. And I think that's a classic case of what they're doing here. I think they're limiting the usability of it just to make sure that what does work works really, really well before they expand it out.
Well, that sounds like a good idea. What if I'm on Skype on my webcam and you're on your iPhone 4? You could do that though, right?
I don't believe so.
Oh.
I don't think so.
All right. Well, I guess we'll find out when we get one. Thank you so much, Mitch. If viewers want to read and hear more insight from you, where can they find you on the web?
If you just Google Computer World Tool Talk blog, it'll come right up.
Great. Mitch Wagner of Computer World with us via Skype from San Diego this afternoon. Thanks so much for being with us. I'm Christy Duffy for Smart Trend News. For more on Apple products, Apple stock, and other news and market analysis, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, Trade the Trend, as well as checking our website, tradethetrend.com.